Hello and welcome to our podcast, Unmuzzled Conversations with me, Christine, my brother Stuart.
Hi there.
And our friend Tommy.
Hello.
Every week we are sharing with you our sometimes humorous and nostalgic views about Glasgow and Glaswegians. We are going back to the 1940s up to the present day, covering topics of the time, as well as our own memories of being brought up in Glasgow. So put the kettle on or pour yourself a drink and spend some time with us. Today is the start of Series 2, and this episode is called The Curfew and the Cull, and all will be explained. But actually today I have a preamble. Now there's a word you don't hear very often, boys. I haven't heard that since I was last in AA. So I wanted to say, Tommy, thank you so much for joining us. You have made such a difference to our podcast, and I'm so glad that you agreed to come and to be here and to give up your time, because we really appreciate it.
The bar was not too high.
Well, I just think it's great. You've made such a different dynamics, and I'm so glad that you're here. And I also want to take a moment just to talk about the fabulous Stuart having 30,000 views on Facebook. I think, you know, we're only
TikTok number,
and we don't know, but we'll have to ask Cam, because he's the only person that knows how to work these things out.
TikTok.
I know that. So I just wanted to mention that because it is quite a breakthrough for us to have. And Tommy's the last one I looked at for you, I think, was 12,500. So for us, we just want to say thank you to people that have been interested in the podcast, interested in the reels, and give us those kind of numbers, because for us that's just incredible, I think. And so thank you.
Brilliant.
So today I've got this subject called the curfew and the cull. And so I'm going to ask Stuart to start with the story of the cull. Now, can you remember, Stuart, when you kind of shared this story with me? It's my favourite story, by the way.
About 15 years ago.
Right,
and I worked with this guy that I worked with who was he was the boss of the department I worked with.
Sorry, just a sec. This is not what we're going to do.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you.
You must interrupt me. You must interrupt me.
I didn't want to,
Right.
Do I need to start from the top? I'm sorry.
No, I think just start from...
No, but you mentioned it, Christine, honestly. You mentioned it right at the very beginning.
Nicole.
So you'd have to start.
Okay, I'll need to start again. Sorry, Cam.
It's all right, don't worry.
If I ever get it wrong, you must stop me right away,
okay.
because that would be silly, wouldn't it, for us to
Yeah,
talk about something completely different. I do apologise.
We're working memories, aren't we?
Working
memories of
Yeah.
work.
Yes, memories of work. Okay. So here we go. So, hello, you're very welcome to our podcast, Unmuzzled Conversations, with me, Christine, my brother Stuart,
Hi there.
and our friend Tommy.
Hello.
Every week, we are sharing our nostalgic and sometimes humorous views about Glasgow and Glaswegians from 1940s to the present day. And we're covering topics of each time, as well as our own memories of being brought up in Glasgow and, of course, of still living in Glasgow. So put the kettle on or pour yourself a drink. Take a load off and spend some time with us. As we go back in time, and we're looking today and talking today about our work memories. So I'm going to ask Stuart, if he can, to start the ball rolling. What's your favourite, Stuart, or where do you want to start with work stories?
Well, the funniest place I ever worked in was a newspaper group in Ayrshire. I come from the printing background, and from almost the day I started in the 60s, the printing business contracted hugely. First of all, with the factories closing down, and then the shrinkage of weekly newspapers, which was drastic in the end. There was hardly any left. There still are very few. Anyway, I worked in this group in Ayrshire, and they were the funniest people I have ever met in my life. And some of the things that were said were just outrageous, and pretty misogynistic. But it was the times. It was the 1980s, and so anyway, there was this girl, I'll call her Caroline, who was the assistant to the the editor in charge of all the advertisements, and she hardly ever came to the place. And I used to wonder, I'd hear her name now and again. I said, "Where is she?" So she gets such a hard time that she only came when the boss was on holiday or was elsewhere, which is very rarely. And this is the first time she was ever there when I worked there. And she's quite a big kind of hefty lassie, and she was, a bit kind of clumsy, so she got a hard time about that. But one of the things about her was she hated people talking about meat and things like that, right? So she just couldn't cope with it.
Was she a vegetarian?
She was a total vegetarian, a kind of vegan. In fact, way before her time, she was a vegan. Anyway, so these two guys, these two total headbangers, are winding her up deliberately, and they're talking away. And it was one of these places where you could work and talk. It was called the Paste Up Department, and you could work away and talk. It wasn't that difficult. It was fine. It wasn't really frowned upon to be talked to, have conversations. So they're talking away, and the argument was, who made the best burgers? Was it King Burger or was it McDonald's? And the argument was totally made up, but it was getting quite heated. And they turned round to Caroline and said, "Caroline, you can settle this. Who do you think makes the best burgers?" And she'd been keeping out of it. She knew she was getting wound up, but anyway, she got caught. She bit the hook. And she said, I don't know why you're asking me this. I don't touch burgers. I'm a vegetarian. And they said, a vegetarian? What are you eating? Fucking bales of hay. So fucking place it is. An uproar. Total. And then she walks and she storms out the building with a total retort, fucking bastards. And she slams the door. And this is true. This sounds unbelievable. This guy actually, it was just terrible silence. It was just went totally over the top. They've really insulted her and she's seriously upset. So the place, I was like, oh, that was really over the top. And this guy, John, shouts after her, I suppose a blowjob's out of the question then. Fucking place is uproar once again, So that was the kind of place it was. And
what a place to work in if you're a woman, eh? Oh man, you couldn't do that these days, could you? I mean, no way.
It was the funniest place I've ever worked with. Total head cases. But again, it was bought over, shrunk, and I think only about 2 people survived out of the company. But I'll tell you one more about that, one more, which is funnier. It was quite a strange place to work. It was a good place to work. We only worked 32 hours a week officially, but we actually worked less than that. We would do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday would be maybe a late night, a late end it. We'd finish at 7:30. And we only worked a Thursday morning till 1 o'clock, and then we chucked it. That was the end of our week, which was brilliant. And it was really, really good. And anyway, so what we did was there would be people working, and then they would get as far as they could go, and then they would stop. And so I was a typesetter, so I would work away typesetting, and then after a while that would be all completed. And the last department would be the paste up department, who pasted down all the text, the printed text on the pages of the paper. So what would happen was they would say to anybody, would you want to come and help? And once we finished, we all go. But the typesetters, nobody was allowed to leave until it was finished. So even though the typesetters had nothing to do, they had to wait, which was fair enough. So I'd be happy working away. And here, the guy who was the gaffer, things must have been running late. I can't remember why, but we were running late. There's always pressure on any print company to get the job to the press quickly. So it was running, for some reason or other, I said it was running late. So the guy in charge, the gaffer's really, really under pressure. And he starts to kind of lose it a wee bit, and he's not showing a lot of leadership. He's starting to get aggravated with people who are just doing their jobs. And some guy, just one of the other typesetters, he was working away, and he hadn't done, whatever he'd done something wrong. And the guy just finally lost it. The guy who's in charge just lost it. He says, typesetters are I hate fucking typesetters. He says, see if I die, I want to come back as a fucking typesetter. And of course, everybody's like, oh, total, real bummer then. Everybody's got their heads down. And this pal of mine, Tom Hislop, fucking jumps in and he says, that's funny. He says, see, when I die, I want to come back as a lady's bicycle seat. And the gaffer just fucking throws his pencil.
Oh, to work in places like that.
Wonderful.
Honestly,
just wonderful.
Just absolutely brilliant. Tommy, can you follow that?
Oh, there's. Where
are you going to talk to us about? You're going to talk to us about hospitality, and you're going to talk to us about.
Oh, there's so many. I did quite a few jobs in my, because.
Oh, I'm sorry.
As a itinerant musician, sometimes you had to, there was in between jobs.
Right.
You
Would this be when you were a professional musician now, Tommy?
Pro, so therefore I maybe go and I did things. I sold dodgy Sky TV before Sky. Right,
big tellies.
Big, enormous. I mean, for example, we were there. I mean, it was we had a stall in the Modern Homes exhibition with this company, and they said, just tell them anything, right? And they had this small model of a dish, right, which is about the size of a Sky dish is now. Mm-hmm. But the real size of the dish was the one of these gigantic fucking things that you see in Spain,
in
a roof in Spain, to catch the signal for Britain, right? So people would sign up, and you just said, oh, you can get this, and you can get that, and you showed them this magazine. And they say there's these fabulous, all these films that you can get. Now, this is before Sky is now. Sky was just out. And so that they said you can, and people are stunned by, you can get all that. You don't need a license for it. You don't need a license for it. Everything was just lies. And then people would turn up, and the crew would turn up with these big, gigantic fucking elliptical things, these big dishes.
Like a big commercial thing for a business.
Enormous dishes, they couldn't see out their window, because the whole thing, the living room went all dark as soon as, and they went, what's that? And the engineers, they'd already been prepped, you just saying, I'll be okay, missus, right? And they said, right, okay. And they put it up and they go like that. What's that? And they say, that's your dish. And they go like that. No, they never said it was that. And they said, we've seen that. No, they said that was it. They said, and they would say, everybody was prepped for them to say,
blame each other.
Was that salesman? Was that salesman? They don't know a thing, missus. They've not got a fucking clue. She says that was just a model that was there to show you what it looked like. This is the real dish, and you really need this so you don't get it, right? Now, people had paid. It was a lot of money.
Did they pay it up front?
And a lot of people paid it up front, right? So obviously, and then I'll go on to tell you what I think was. To me, in that sales thing, because people see good salesmen that I think that were. I had what you would call my sales stuck the most, right? Because the real salesmen, good salesmen, just went for numbers, right? And see if you didn't get the what do you call it, a higher purchase, right? If you went into instalments, and you would go to a finance company that were that, and they just knocked you back because people lied. Everybody in Easterhouse says, I want one of them, but they get knocked back. And the one time I was in the office, and the guy who was the head of the sales team, who was telling you all the lies to tell to people. And I just didn't tell them lies because I had a gig. I could make money there. That was their only income.
Would it be commission only then, Tom? Is that
commission
how it was?
Only,
commission only,
right?
That's hard.
They're only
working
on commission, right? Yeah, commission only. But the good thing about it, as I say, I had a gig to tide me over.
Income. Yeah.
So I was doing that. So it's a guy. So I'm in the office. And this guy come in. This guy was this sales guy, and he was brilliant. And he says, "This is it." He says, "What do you think of that?" He says, "Look at all the lies, that the people had said." He says, "There's like a whole family, and no one has a job, right? There's no job. There's about 5 of them in the family. They're all adults." He says, and they're all drinkers, and he says, you can imagine. He says, there's no way they will ever get finance ever. But they said they were happy. And they wanted the finance package, the dearest finance package that was going. So the guy says, okay, and he says, I'll phone them up. So he phoned them up, and he said, and I was in tears. I just had to stop myself because I was going to scream with laughter when he said, excuse me, family, right, got to get some right. Did you sign this form? He says, for the Sky Television. He says, aye, this is the company we're installing, etc. Unfortunately, the salesman's had a terrible road traffic accident. And
God, that's out of order, isn't it?
I don't think he's going to make it. And we're like that. And he says, so, did you sign the form? Right, he says, for you to get this, we need that form. And there, it's in that. It says, unfortunately, the forms are covered in blood. I'm like this. He says,
God.
They're all covered in blood. He says, but if you've signed the form, and was it black biro, a black ink that you signed it on? I says, aye. He says, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to wipe it, even if it's a lot of blood in it.
That's unbelievable.
And it'll be the blood will be faint pink on the form. And when we send that away, he says, so is that okay if we recover the form for you? And we're howling. And the guy's like that. Aye, sure thing. He says, and the guy says, and he never said, how was the guy? Nothing. He was only interested in getting the big. He didn't know the size of the dish he was getting, right? But they were only interested in getting this television. And if this guy had bits of him were lying all over the place, with all these forms that were covered in blood, he was quite happy for us to retrieve the forms and get them sent away so he could get a television.
Isn't it?
But see if you heard, if you hear the guy on the phone when he was saying, when he, it's just kind of, where the guy who's talking about is there, and he's saying, and he was saying ridiculous things, just say, I can imagine, he's saying things like, his arm, it was when his arm get ripped off that's when the blood,
shocking,
he was developing, just as it went on. We were just howling.
How can people do that? Though,
no scruples, Christine.
No scruples. Wow.
Sales. I was.
Just a numbers game to them, isn't it? And whatever needs to get done has got to be done.
Get the signatures, send them away. They all want these televisions, and probably 90% of them will, in 2 weeks at the Modern Homes Exhibition, I had 2 sales, right? But they stuck. Right, I only sold it. I couldn't tell the lies that they were saying because I was thinking.
But maybe you get to two more than the rest of them, then, Tommy.
Well, no, they were getting. They were going through. They were signing. I would just. I wasn't rattling
surely
away.
If they didn't get the finance, there was no sale.
No, that's right. But they would. But quite often, sales and sales finance company are desperate for people to get. They hope that they can give you the finance. So if you can get finance. I mean, people were saying things like, see if you can you sign for this? No. Have you got a job? No. Do you know somebody who's got a job?
Really? God.
Right. Put his name down. As a relative. Put that. Well, my cousin, what does he do? I said, he's a joiner. He's got a good job. Tell him he can come and watch the telly as well, because you've got all these things that he can come and watch.
Unbelievable.
Right? Just anything.
Unbelievable.
And some, maybe they would sign up. They would maybe sign up like maybe 30 people a week, right? And of that, but if they got 5, They were
The
doing
numbers
well.
game.
Aye.
The
That was
numbers
fine.
game. That's all it is.
And over that.
It's,
So they would
it's very
say,
ruthless, though, isn't it? Really.
unbelievable. But sales jobs, you can imagine.
I could
lots
never
of,
do that. Could you, Stuart?
no,
I
I
could
couldn't do it. I
never be
couldn't
a
do it, no.
salesperson.
Aye,
You've got to have no heart.
No.
Haven't you, really?
That's right.
So-
No, the old sell your granny.
Aye,
Because
aye.
they actually, to finish off, they'd actually said that, they said, we're not keen in this, this job this year. Last year, we were in bathroom sales,
Oh, really?
right? And we did brilliantly. It was the same
With
team.
the same team of
Aye.
people,
Right,
yeah.
we did
yeah.
brilliantly. We even sold all the shower curtains for the display unit
Bloody
to
hell.
people. They were just saying, that's a lovely curtain. They said, all right, okay. And they were just pocketing the money. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the sort of scruple. So the people,
another
instead
world,
of saying all
isn't it,
these,
really,
these
yeah.
lovely bathroom curtains that were actually
Yeah.
around the bath and things like that
Gone.
were selling, they just sold them. Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, £5, Mrs. There, yeah. That's the way it's gone.
Oh, I'm glad I've done many things, but I'm really glad I've not been involved in sales. It's too harsh for me. So from the glamorous world of sales, I wanted to talk about the world of the Menage. Now, help me explain that Menage, Stuart. A savings scheme? Is that for people that don't know what it is?
Free. There's
It's
no
an-
charges. It's just
Right.
a revolving savings account, isn't it, really? But among your friends and colleagues. Aye.
So I had a Menage in a place that I worked, and I think you needed 20 people over 20 weeks. And the idea is that each person contributes the same amount of money on a weekly basis. I think it would be maybe £10, something like that every week. But in those days, you had to physically collect the money, or the people had to come to you and physically give you the money. So I had two Menages actually, and they were both in the same place, both in the same building. And so the amount of time that was spent running after people to get the money from them, you had to wait to payday and try and get 4 weeks' money off them if you possibly could. And so what happened was that everybody had a turn. I'm finding this hard to explain. Everybody had their turn. So one
Each week there was a payout.
Each week there was a payout. So there would be 20 weeks and each person would be given a number. So if, let's say, you were week 1, you got the whole £100 the very, very first week. So if you were number 7, on the 7th week, you get your payout. Does that sound about right?
Yes, that's right,
to do it. But there were complications because we're dealing with people. So there were complications from the point of view of people saying, do you know what? I'll need to come out the Menage. I say, what? You don't get coming out the Menage. You're in it? No. In fact, I said, I've made up a wee contract. So you need to sign that. If you leave the Menage, you're not getting your money back because somebody's going to have to lose money. No, that's not how this is going to work. So, so much time was spent running after people, trying to get the money. It was a full-time job and I was actually unable to do my own job. I was so busy with these Menages with a waiting list. But there was a day when the Menage money went missing because there was 2 Menages, and so the cash that was lying about our office was quite a lot. The guy who was the reception manager in the hotel said, Christine, would you like me to give you one of these security boxes for your Menage money? I said, listen, that would be ideal if you could. I wouldn't worry because, anything could happen. If people know where the money's been kept, and I'm responsible for all this money. He says, right, he says, I'm going to give you number 10, let's say. Like, it'll be security box. I'll give you number 10. Here's your key. I said, right, that's fine. So I had to go into every week to put the money in, to take the money out. And so when it came to the last week, I went up to number 10. There was nothing in it at all. Opened the box, number 10, absolutely no money at all. I says, oh, for fuck's sake, where on earth can that money be? Is somebody stolen it? How would it be possible for somebody to steal the money? But what had happened was the reception manager, somebody had asked for number 10, so he decided to take mine out and put it into number 12.
Never told you?
And never told me. I'm not joking. I was
You
absolutely shitting myself. And that was a payout day.
Absolute
You know what I mean? For 2
bits.
Menages, it was a lot of money lying around. So it was a nightmare on that day, but it kind of worked out okay. But actually, I was in a Menage last maybe 2 years ago, and I still really enjoyed putting my £10 in every week. And in fact, I was saying to Stuart that in the hotel that I worked in, one of the managers, a junior manager, he was in the Menage. He wasn't earning a lot of money. And so when it was his turn, everybody said, oh, Graham, what are you going to do with your £100? He says, I'm going along to Marks and Spencer's to get myself a coat. And from that very day forward, people would say, see, you're wearing your Minaj coat, Graham. And that's what it was always called. So it was a very much a kind of normal part of life. I think maybe more of a woman's thing. I had quite a few men in my Minaj, but I think it was more of a woman's kind of a thing. And certainly was something that even in those days had been going on for a long, long time. And I thought, as you say, there was, you weren't charged any interest or anything on it. It was just a nice thing.
Either.
Were you in one, Stuart?
Yes,
Did
I
you
was.
see?
When
You were
you
in
say
one.
about women, Eddie Cairns' mother ran one,
Right.
and all the ones I knew, I think it was all women that ran them. Mm-hmm. It was a great way of saving, and you could if it was within your kind of way of doing it, you could get your day or your date to correspond with something,
Somebody's
maybe somebody's
birthday
birthday,
or that's
holidays
right.
or something like that. That was a popular thing.
And you could change your
Aye, it
dates,
was quite
as you say, you
flexible,
could
aye.
swap it over.
Swap numbers.
Aye.
And of
No.
course, everybody wanted the Christmas one,
Aye.
or the one
The
before
holiday one, the
Christmas
July-
one, or the
Glasgow
July
fair.
holiday fair. That's
Aye.
absolutely right. Just to change the subject, but to keep on work stories, I was talking earlier about the one situation that I seem to encounter through all of my work life, and maybe you'll get this, Tommy, maybe more than Stuart, working in hospitality, was a combination of within people utter confidence with complete incompetence. And that I have worked with that for 30 years, and that's what's given me all the wrinkles and the marks that I've got on my face to this very day, because it's a very difficult combination to deal with people.
To be
If people
below
are
somebody
so,
like that.
So, actually, mine's were people working for me, but that was quite difficult too, because you'd say to people, "This is wrong. Look what you've done. This is," or it's a complaint, or well, no. I did it perfectly well. I don't know. People that just won't take responsibility because they're so confident about themselves, but their competency within their actual job role was so poor and worrying. So that's what haunted me for most of mine. But I wanted to talk as well about a situation that happened, a couple of things that happened to me when I was working in a hotel in the Highlands. I had been down to Asda the day before, and I was in a big hurry, and I said to the woman, "Where's the cakes?" I said, "I'm really in a hurry. Where is the cake? I've not got time. I don't know this Asda." She says, "It's over here. I'll take you." I said, "You don't need to take me." I says, "I'll get it myself." She says, "No, I have to take you." I said, "Right, okay." So this was a new thing that when you asked, where is the washing powder, or where is this, or where is that they actually took you. Nowadays they do it all the time. I don't know if you're ever in
Yes.
shops and people do say, no, it's not, it's aisle 24. They say, "I'll take you. Let me show you." And sometimes I say, "You're busy." It's all right. No, they say, I have to take you. So this was a new thing, and I thought, that's a nice thing. That's a nice thing. So I said to a couple of the people working with me, "Do you know what I think we'll try out? See if any of the guests say to you, the guests that you're looking after, where's reception? I want you to take them. Take them down and then introduce them and leave them there. I think that's nicer than just saying it's down there and turn left and turn right and whatever." So we try this out, and within a couple of hours, the reception manager's phoned me saying, "Fucking hell, Christine, what's going on here? Nothing's happening. The whole production stopped." I says, "What?" He says, "There's about 5 people seem to be missing out of your department." He says, "Wait a minute." He says, "I think that's one of them at reception." I says, "What? They're at reception?" So I go to reception, they're all standing like that. I said, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here? You should be up working now." I'm waiting on her, talking about the guests, I says, what are you waiting on that guest?" "Well, you said take them down to the reception, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm waiting on her now." I said, "I never said you were to wait on her." Well, you never made that very clear. We didn't know that. We didn't get that, did we? So we're just hanging about waiting on them.
Them.
Or we're hanging about waiting in room 22, and you're like, "Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, get back up." Everybody get back up. And then the worst one was when somebody said to me, "Hey, listen, I'll need to change my day off on Wednesday. I'm going to book with a guest now." I says, "What?" Well, I says to a guest, "You new hearing that? You know this bit?" I mean, the guest probably didn't understand a fucking word that they're saying. "I'll show you about. I'll show you about if you want me to show you about. I lived here. I can show you all the sights and that." Guest goes like that, "Aye, all right." So I'll need to change my day off because I'm going to book with that guest in that day. So I can't work that day. I say to the guest, I goes like that to the guest, I'll bring my wean and all. And she goes, aye, all right. I went, what? What guest? I don't know. Room 19, I don't know what her fucking name is. I goes like, aye, no bother, but get us doing it the swing park and that. Doesn't matter if it's raining, we'll just jump in your motor and that. Don't worry about it. I know the fool hang me. So, there have been very testing times when people just so completely take things completely literally. So I did my best to try to upgrade things a wee bit, but it didn't quite work out. So, any more good ones for us, Stuart? Let's leave the Ayrshire behind. What else have you got for us?
I've got to say that there was Ayrshire. One last story about Ayrshire, and it was a kind of Scottish working class thing where you blame the gaffer. The gaffer's always a fucking idiot, and things like, well, it isn't really true. But I was in management for about 11 months and was hopeless at it. Now, I've always been quite a good organiser, but I couldn't cope with people no doing their jobs deliberately, no skiving and things like that. And I just could not cope with it. So I was hopeless. I was a manager and I was hopeless. So I then, after that, never criticised other guys. But there was a guy that I worked with in Ayrshire, and he was a nice enough guy, but he was so bad at what he did that when he was on holiday, things went quicker. And he actually acknowledged that, because everybody used to say that to him, and he just kind of accepted it. I'd have walked into the sea if someone said that to me. I just couldn't cope with it. But it just goes back to what you said about confidence.
Yes.
Give all the confidence in the world and just think, oh, well, if that's what they think, I don't care, because I know I'm better,
I think, I don't know about you, Tommy, and your experience in hospitality or how many years you were in it, but for me, hospitality was filled with, at that time, people promoted through circumstance rather than ability. Do you know what I mean? We've not got anybody else to promote, so you'll do. That type of thing.
Or the time you were involved, maybe, that it was your turn to be promoted just through the time you were there.
But as opposed to, can you really do this? And so I've spent my life being, I think, surrounded by people who just had no idea and got away with things. It would appear that you think, well, if HR not going to speak to them about the way this is not going well, or and maybe because I was quite a strong person, I felt that everybody was quite weak. And everybody was just kind of letting people away with things because they didn't also want to be unpopular, and that is a thing with people that are incompetent of what they're doing, is that they'd rather be popular even if they're incompetent. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't want other people to not like them. They don't want to be not liked. And one of the things that I learned when I was becoming a manager was that you're not here to win a popularity contest. And if that is a thing for you, do not take on a job like this. It's not for you. You have to be prepared to be disliked and to be hated, or to be for people to be angry with you, because you need to make controversial decisions, and you need to make decisions that people are not going to like, because and you're the one who will have to deliver it. I mean, there are times when I've worked with people and I've thought they've worked really hard. I'll see what I can do and maybe organise a wee dinner or something for them. So one day I remember bringing in a pizza, and I said to the chef, listen, I brought that pizza in from wherever it was. Can you put that in the oven? I'm going to give it to the girls today for a wee change. Because sometimes the staff food, which you might remember, Tommy, wasn't fantastic. If you didn't like pies every day, you were stuck a wee bit stuck. Yeah. But sometimes there was beans. Sometimes there were beans. Fair enough. So, but a lot of times there wasn't. And so I thought, I'll just do that. And I said to the chef, do you want me to put a couple of chips in? Oh, I said, listen, that would be nice of you. Thank you very much for doing that. So I said to the girls, I've arranged for you to have a wee kind of bit of a pizza and that today, and chips and that. And, you want to come up and have that the now. And all I could hear people was saying, fucking pizza. Stick it up her arse for all I care about her fucking pizza. In fact, she's making a big fucking deal. And I thought, why am I doing this again? Why am I trying to... I would never even get any fucking chips. And I went, hello? And then came the chips. And another time when I was working in a hotel in Edinburgh, I said, do you know what, I'll take the people out for a wee drink. It's Christmas, after all, it's Christmas. So I said, listen, guys, there's quite a few of them. I said, I'll take you for a wee drink. I should have said, I'm taking you for a single drink. That's what I should have said. I'll take you for a wee drink after work. So at 5 o'clock, you want to meet me in, I said, in this pub over here, because that was a sort of pub that everybody went to. So I approached the pub and nobody is in it. Everybody's standing outside it. Why is that? Because they're waiting for the purse, aren't they? They're waiting for the women with the money to come. Waiting on me, right? So in we go. This kind of cocktail, Southern Comfort, and I'm going, oh, fuck. Southern Comfort.
Brandy and baby charm. There was a drink.
That was a drink,
There
Tommy.
was a drink.
I'm beginning to sweat a wee bit here, you know. I'm like, fucking hell. And malts, and I'm, oh, my God. And gins and tonics. Fair enough, I'm the one that offered, so let's do it. So I'm going back to 2008, this was. And that round came to 90-something pounds, right?
Christ.
That was my money, right? So there wasn't money from the hotel. It was me saying, let's... and you know what I got for that? She got one fucking drink for us. She got us into the fucking pub for one drink. So there were times when I kind of pulled the curtains down and said, no more. No more. Whatever I do, I just cannot win, and it's actually costing me quite a lot of money now. Yeah. So maybe I just didn't do it right. Maybe I just didn't do the right thing.
The wrong people. Right thing to the wrong people.
I just
the difference is as well between you and I. You worked front of house. Right.
Back of house, Tommy, housekeeping, back of house.
Right. Well, it was as far as I'm concerned, it's front of house because I was in the kitchen.
Right. Right. So everything's front of house. Front. Fair enough. I get
right.
it. I get it. Yeah.
Right. So so therefore, and the two, for example, this thing's about staff meals, for example. Now everybody, it was the cheapest staff meals. That was the spam and chips and things like that for the, spam and chips for the staff meal. Now, and eventually,
excuse me, can I just say, people were working extremely hard in hotels. Do you know what I mean? They really.
Meals and you're complaining.
So the
flick the sawdust off.
Well, but they would obviously. But there was so much food around, decent food, that's being served. Waitresses were always stealing, people around you were, maids and coffee people, they're always doing. And when in the evening service, it tended to be, and at the start, before it became sophisticated menus that are now available, the chicken was everything. The chicken was the meal. Right, then it was whatever the roast chicken and bacon was, and I used to plead with the waitresses, please steal the legs, don't keep stealing the breast of chicken. And I was only 15 years of age. I was a commie chef. I was nearly greeting, going to steal the legs.
Yeah.
Because the minute you turned round, to get something, and away they went,
right.
and we had doily full of breasts of chicken, the doilies, away they went, and they're not going to be in the corner, and they're all dishing them out. You come back out, and you'd all these, the breasts, you'd all these brown legs of chicken like that, and you had to, the service, you had to call up to the kitchen for more white. Right, so and the next minute the chef would be down shouting at you, saying, what have you done with that? And I said, they stole it. Oh no, and they were taking it, and he would shout and say, right, and he would shout and scream at them.
Wouldn't make a difference though, Tommy.
But that made absolutely no difference. No, absolutely, they were there. That was it. They said, "You give me spam, I'm stealing your chicken." That's it. No,
but there were others who weren't in a lucky position to steal the chicken.
No, that's right.
Had to take the spam.
That's right. That's right. The ones that were right in the basement, like the pot people and things like that.
And the people that worked with me as well. And also, everybody in our place wanted the first lunch would be 11:30. And they all wanted to go at 11:30. That's a better time for us, Christy. We'll just go that time. But then I realised that's when most of the food is there. So you've got the biggest. So they would get and fucking strip the buffet completely.
That's right. There was
and when somebody came at 12 o'clock, they were like,
What's left? That's right. All
Big
these
ball
things.
cheeks like that, way up to do that work.
Another
And a
one.
wee carry out sometimes with them here as well.
Although, in the sort of other end of the spectrum, talking about these people, if you remember, I was talking about the fact I became an indentured apprentice, and I worked in this gentleman's club, right? And there was all this landed gentry that were coming in, the Scottish gentry that come in there. So this guy, Sir Bartholomew McGumfer, we'll say, comes in about 5 minutes after service stops. And by that time, all the stuff for the service was away back down the stairs into the kitchen.
And everything's turned off
and
as well.
And everything goes turned off. And the guy says, I'm 5 minutes later. And they're saying, well, it's Mr. It's Sir something, he needs to. And he says, I want this, and this is what I want. And I want, say for example, what was that? And I'm having the roast lamb with roast potatoes, right? So he's down there. Now the roast potatoes were finished, and you know how everything went to the brock bin, right? Yeah. By that
That's
time,
right. That's what it's called. The
it
brock
just
bin.
come out, and immediately the custard.
Don't tell me you took his dinner at the brock bin,
So
Tommy.
we took his dinner at the brock bin. He got lamb. He got lamb, but I rolled up my sleeve and went down
stick it under the
through
tap?
the custard, right, gravy, the cauliflower. I found a totty, right? No, and it come up right through, right. So find three totties, right?
Jesus.
Give them a wash, dry them off, put them in the deep fat fryer. So they look like roast potatoes, right? So that was it. That's what the guy got. The guy got the meal.
That's delicious,
right? And absolutely, and then it was a case of he was going round to his friends saying things like, I just told him that's what I wanted and I got it, but he didn't know how it got there in the first place, where it came from.
That's like
but you don't know what happens behind the scenes.
Of stories when you say that's not good enough and you send something back to the kitchen, you just feel that somebody's given a good spit on your
I've got to say, after I had there, that I never ever sent anything back. Never, because I reckon that's what would happen. I asked you and asked Tommy, and both of you said that both of you were not giving me clear answers, so I thought, I'm never going to do it.
Yeah.
And I never have.
Yeah. I do still send things back, I have to say that, but I'm probably prepared for it because I know that, but at the same point, I can't let it go if it's not right. No. But if it is good, I'll be the first one to say that was so good, thank you so much, because I know what goes into preparing a meal, not as much as you, Tommy, but I know the work and the effort, the time and the steam and the heat of a kitchen to prepare really nice food is not an easy task to do. So I'm always very appreciative. But if it's not right, I remember saying, lastly, in a restaurant, that one that you and I were going to go to tonight, Stuart, I ordered fish and chips for a wee change. That fish and chips. I said to the girl's lovely. I said, listen, have you got any tartar sauce for this? I thought it would come with the tartar sauce. She says, all right. She says, see if you go down there and look for Fiona. I says, pardon? No, she says, if you go down there, and when she's pointing down, there's quite a bit, 4 or 5 waitresses standing all chatting. If you go down there and ask for Fiona, she'll get it for you. I said, you fucking kidding? I said, let me remind you of something. I'm the guest here. You go and find Fiona and bring the tartar sauce to me. She's only doing there.
That's Scottish hospitality.
No, it's there. We can go there. I mean, even quite recently, my daughter took her friends to our local pub. I say it wasn't. It must have been. Actually, it must have been before COVID, because and it was known they were going through chefs It's going cooks every couple of months all the time, and the quality of food was getting worse and worse and worse. Right, and the local, the waitress is, if you can call them waitresses, were getting worse and worse. Right, so my daughter takes her pals and we'll go with this, the mother and toddlers group or something like that. Right, we'll go there. So what's the local pub? And one of them said they said, can I have the curry? Right, so this chicken curry came, and she's waiting for the rice, and this plate of chips appeared, and she called the waitress over, and she said, "I'm waiting for the rice." Of name. She says, "I gave you chips." She never even said. She never even said. She's like that. She's offended. I gave you chips. She said that I don't like chips. No, she says, well, we've no rice.
Do you know,
It's just
we could do a
amazing.
podcast about the outrageous poor quality
of
Scottish
hospitality.
I mean, I've got tons of
Absolutely.
stories,
Absolutely.
and I don't go out much.
Well, well, maybe that's for another day, because
absolutely.
on that no chips situation brings us to the end of this podcast. So we just want to say thank you so much for your company today. Please don't forget that you can find us on TikTok. We also have our new Facebook page, and we're on Instagram as well. But just before I go, I did want to say to you, Tommy, thank you so much for being in our podcast. I think you've made such a difference, and Stuart and I really, really enjoy your company. And it's just great, I think, for all of us to have a little project to be working on, and it makes us all come here today and gives us that really important time to spend together. And
It's been a great new experience for me. It's
well, all
actually,
of us, we're all very new to it.
Especially, as I said, my grandson thinks I'm a TikTok star.
You are.
You know?
Well,
You are a TikTok
I said
star.
to Christine earlier, this time next year, house hunting in Los Angeles.
He's looking at what area
I'm
he
looking at the
wants to
valley,
live
I'm
in.
looking towards the valley, or maybe the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
You know.
And lastly, I have to talk about Stuart's incredible 30,000 views on
Thank you very
Facebook,
much.
which is just
It took a long time for me to tap these numbers
incredible.
up. I'll tell you that.
So we want to say thank you so much to everybody for making those numbers happen, because it's all about you. So thank you very much. And we are all so glad that you are enjoying the podcast as much as we are. So we'll see you next time. So it's goodbye from me, from Stuart,
Bye now.
and from Tommy. See you next time.
Bye for now.